All right, everybody, welcome back to Eco Wealth Lab. So glad you can join us for another deep dive. If you're new here, definitely check out the back catalog. We've got some amazing deep dives, really breaking down what's going on in the world of finance and economics.
Yeah.
But today we're doing something a little different. We're going to be taking a rapid fire look at some of the most significant developments in the crypto space.
Okay.
Now, we've covered a lot of these topics in our past deep dives, but things move so quickly in the crypto world that there's always something new to talk about.
Absolutely.
So are you ready to jump in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's start with something that caught my eye. MicroStrategy. Remember them?
Oh, yeah. How could we forget?
They just dropped a cool $1.92 billion to buy another 22,048 Bitcoin.
Wow.
That brings their total holdings to over 500,000 Bitcoin. Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
That's more than 2.5% of all the Bitcoin that will ever exist.
That's a significant chunk.
And here's the kicker. They funded this purchase by selling more of their own company's stock.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you about their conviction?
I think it shows just how bullish they are on Bitcoin long term.
Yeah, I mean, they're putting their money where their mouth is.
Exactly. And, this isn't just a MicroStrategy thing. We're seeing this kind of institutional adoption happening across the board.
Right.
Last week, digital asset funds saw inflows of $226 million,
Wow.
with Bitcoin leading the charge at $195 million.
Really?
But here's what's interesting. Altcoins also saw some inflows after 5 weeks of outflows. So that could be a sign that investor confidence is returning to the broader crypto market.
It's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely.
Okay, so speaking of bold moves, Marathon Digital Holdings, MARA,
Right.
they're planning a $2 billion stock sale.
$2 billion with a B.
That's right. And all that money
Yeah.
is going towards buying more Bitcoin.
Well, they're not messing around.
They already have a pretty sizable stack, like 46,374 BTC.
Yeah, that's not insignificant.
But their stock price has actually dropped. It's down about 8.6% since the announcement and over 27% year to date.
So the market's not exactly thrilled with this strategy.
It seems pretty risky.
It is. There's a huge potential upside if Bitcoin's price continues to rise.
Yeah.
But it also exposes their shareholders to a lot of volatility in the short term.
It's a high-stakes game for sure.
It is, and it raises some interesting questions about how traditional investors view this kind of direct exposure to crypto.
That's a great point.
But, while all this is happening, there are other companies quietly making moves in the background.
Like who?
Like Metaplanet, they just added another 696 Bitcoin to their holdings.
Really?
Yeah, bringing their total to over 4,000.
Wow.
That makes them the 9th largest public holder of Bitcoin.
So they're up there with MicroStrategy.
Not quite at that level yet. But it's definitely a sign that more and more publicly traded companies are starting to see Bitcoin as a legitimate asset to hold on their balance sheets.
Yeah, and it's not just the crypto-native companies anymore.
That's right.
We're seeing some pretty unexpected players enter the game.
Oh, yeah, like who?
Well, for example, the Trump family.
Interesting.
They've gained control of World Liberty Financial, and they've already reportedly sold over $400 million worth of their WLFI tokens.
It's a lot of tokens.
It's a sign that even traditional figures are starting to see the potential of crypto.
I think it's more than just potential at this point. We're seeing a real convergence of traditional finance and the decentralized world of crypto.
Yeah, and that convergence is only going to accelerate.
Absolutely.
And speaking of acceleration, have you heard about the American Bitcoin Initiative?
I have. Tell me more.
It's a collaboration between Hut 8 and Eric Trump.
Oh, okay.
And their goal is pretty ambitious. They want to build the world's largest Bitcoin mining operation.
Wow, that's huge.
Right here in the U.S., they're aiming for a hash rate of over 50 exahashes per second.
That's an insane amount of computing power.
Yeah. So what's the thinking behind this?
Well, they want to secure domestic Bitcoin production
Okay.
and create a strategic reserve of Bitcoin. Interesting. So they're essentially betting on Bitcoin becoming even more important in the future.
Exactly. And they're not the only ones.
Oh,
Larry Fink.
the CEO of BlackRock.
Yeah.
What about him?
He recently suggested that Bitcoin could potentially overtake the U.S. dollar.
Hold on. Did he really say that?
He did.
That's a pretty bold statement coming from the head of one of the world's largest asset
Oh,
managers.
no, right? He pointed to concerns about national debt
Okay.
and the increasing adoption of crypto.
That's really interesting. I mean, it shows that even the most established figures in traditional finance are starting to take Bitcoin seriously.
Very seriously.
Yeah, and it's not just about Bitcoin as a store of value either.
What do you mean?
Well, circle the company behind the USDC stablecoin.
Oh, yeah.
They're planning to go public.
Really?
Yeah, and they're targeting a valuation of $4 to $5 billion.
Wow.
And get this, JP Morgan and Citi are advising them on the IPO. It's a major milestone for a stablecoin issuer. And it signals that the crypto market infrastructure is maturing rapidly.
It's amazing how far things have come in such a short time.
It really is.
Okay, so let's shift gears for a second and talk about security.
Okay.
There's actually some good news on that front.
Oh, that's good to hear. What is it?
Well, crypto losses in March dropped significantly.
Like, how significant?
They plummeted to just $28.8 million.
That's a huge drop from the $1.5 billion we saw in February.
I know, right?
So what happened?
Apparently some funds were recovered after those earlier hacks.
Oh, that's great news.
It's a sign that security measures are starting to catch up.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
It's definitely encouraging to see that losses are going down.
It is, and it's a reminder that the crypto space is constantly evolving.
Sure.
But, even with all these positive developments, we still see those moments of classic crypto volatility.
Oh, yeah, like what?
Well, Elon Musk recently clarified that the U.S. government has no plans to use Dogecoin.
I missed that. And Dogecoin's price dropped about 3% after that statement.
Ouch.
It's a funny reminder that even a single tweet from a certain someone can have a big impact on the market.
Especially when it comes to meme coins.
Yeah, those things are wild.
They really are.
But hey, that's all part of the fun, right?
I guess so.
So where does all this leave us? I think we're seeing a really interesting moment in the evolution of crypto.
Yeah, I agree.
We have institutions like MicroStrategy accumulating massive amounts of Bitcoin, new players like the Trump family entering the space, and thought leaders like Larry Fink suggesting that Bitcoin could challenge the dollar's dominance.
That's a lot to process.
It is, and it's all happening so fast.
It makes you wonder what the future holds.
It does, and that's what makes this space so exciting. The possibilities are endless.
Absolutely.
So if you want to stay on top of all these developments, make sure you hit that subscribe button and join us for our next deep dive.
See you there.
See you later.